Hey Nick, welcome. So great to have you.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me here.
We are very excited to meet you in person in just a few weeks at the Real World Assets Summit, but we wanted to take some time to get to know you a little better and get the audience excited about what you'll bring to the table and the perspective that you have from Chronicle. So, can you just kick it off, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit more about your company?
Sure. So my name is Niklas Kunkel. I was part of the founding team of MakerDAO back in 2016. We built a lot of kind of new primitives back then. We built the first oracles on Ethereum. We built the first DEX. We built the first stablecoin. Um, Maker is very much grown right over the years into kind of this multi-billion dollar DeFi behemoth. But eventually, I kind of set my sights a little bit elsewhere. We've as an industry, right? We've built these really like decentralized chains. We've built these really decentralized protocols. But where there's still a severe lack of decentralization is on the infrastructure side. And so that's why I started Chronicle, and that's where I think Chronicle is going to bring something very new and very different to the table when we launch next month.
I'm curious, can you share a little bit with the audience what unique perspective you'll bring to the summit?
So I think what's unique about Chronicle is that we kind of are at the intersection of real world assets from the perspective of all the other parties involved, right? From working with, the leaders right in the RWA space, like Centrifuge on the asset originator side, right, to the actual DeFi protocols like Maker, right, that are providing credit. We are kind of this verifiable infrastructure layer in between that facilitates, right, the cooperation, right, between all of the other players. And we've had a very kind of inside look at real world assets kind of since the beginning. I think it's no surprise, right, that Maker has invested almost $3.5 billion of capital into real world assets thus far, making it right by and large right the biggest player in DeFi right now in terms of real world asset exposure. And that has really given us a unique perspective on what the challenges are, right, to scaling real world assets. And I think we're very well strategically placed to execute on that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to launch a company with that much context and background that you're bringing to the table. So those billions of dollars and years of experience scaling gives you such great insight and perspective on not only the challenges, but the solutions that have worked and that will work. And
Mhm.
then when you think about the future, what's your prediction for what the tokenization landscape will look like in 2024?
So looking ahead to 2024, I think we're going to solve some of the primary challenges that have really been holding uh, the growth of real world assets back. I think one of them, which Centrifuge is probably very intimately aligned with, right, is standardization. There is, in terms of the real world asset kind of footprint at the moment, it's quite fractured. And very many of these deals are quite bespoke, right, in terms of the assets themselves, in terms of how they're structured, in terms of the jurisdiction, right, the partners. You're probably much more familiar with this than I am. Um, and uh, this is also why it's been difficult in the past to develop, high quality infrastructure because you would have to build it kind of bespoke for everything. So as we see more consolidation, as we see standardization around models, around platforms that issue that facilitate issuing real world assets around regulatory clarity, right, in certain jurisdictions. This is going to give us the both technical and operational ability, right, to scale real world assets, right, an order of magnitude at least, if not more.
What do you think is needed to accelerate the institutional adoption of real world assets?
So I think this is where kind of Chronicle fits in really well, is that there's a very organic need on both sides right now, right? We've seen um, uh, what we've kind of seen in the past year is that the rates in DeFi have been substantially lower than the traditional finance rates, right? And this has led to a very synergistic relationship where DeFi provides credit to traditional institutions to obtain higher yields than they would otherwise be able to obtain. And institutions, right, like looking to DeFi for cheap credit at rates that are much lower than they would otherwise be able to obtain. So there's a very harmonious relationship there, and a very organic kind of product market fit. What's holding that back, I would say, is uh, that there's still too much friction, right? There's too many moving pieces, too many different actors, and that we still use a very traditional finance approach of manually collecting all of this information and verifying all this information. And this is, I think, where crypto can actually really help quite substantially, in that the lessons that we've learned in crypto over the past few years are, right, that we automate, right? We automate and we remove the need for trust. And as soon as we can automate these manual processes, as soon as we can reduce the trust requirements between, decentralized protocols and real world institutions, and have them, basically communicating in the same language, the more comfortable both parties are going to be, one, obtaining capital, right, from DeFi, and from the DeFi perspective, right, extending larger and larger amounts of capital, because that trust factor is not there anymore, right? It's been replaced with this verifiable digital trail.
Love it. Sounds great. Consolidation, automation, scale. So I have one final question. We've been asking every speaker this, and we're using it as a way so that when you meet people at the summit, they can come up to you and have a icebreaker. So can you tell us two truths and a lie, and we'll see who can guess the lie when they meet you in person?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, I'm kind of curious. What have other people been saying here?
Everything from like very personal stuff about the number of cats they have to, when they first got exposed to Bitcoin, to things that like how many languages they speak. So we've
Mhm.
had all over the spectrum.
Okay, interesting. All right. I think I have something. So, I used to play D1 basketball in college. I speak 5 languages, and uh, I have 2 cats.
Okay. Can we ask how tall you are? Or is that cheating?
I'm like 189.
Okay. I like it. That'll give us something to think about until we meet you in person in a few weeks. Nick, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about yourself, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you at the summit.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to attending the summit and seeing, all the developments, what everyone's working on, and exploring how Chronicle can be like an integral part of that.
Love it.
Thank you.